Welcome back to Pack Mentality. I'm Matt Banwart. My wife, Caitlin, and I own Red Wolf CrossFit in Huntington Beach, California. And we started this podcast with one goal in mind, and that was to make fitness education accessible, engaging, and effective for everyone. Today, we have 5-year vet Peggy on the podcast today. We're going to be kind of going through her fitness journey, and she's going to share her story with us, and I'm really excited to have her on. Peggy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You excited?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. Let's dive right in, shall we?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, here we go. So let's start with this. Let's start with, can you share how being part of a tight-knit community like Red Wolf has influenced your journey in fitness and in life?
Yeah, sure. So I'd say being part of a tight-knit community has been like huge. Growing up doing team sports, it was always one of those things where you kind of built that camaraderie of being around other people. Like you were all kind of suffering a little bit, like doing, what is it? Indian sprints across a whole entire like high school football field. And it's like, you look around and the people next to you and it's just like, okay, cool. You're in just as much pain as I am. So I kind of grew up around that mentality. And so having a tight knit group of people, you know, can kind of like lean on, has been like really huge for like motivation, kind of like getting someone to like, if you feel like you've like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like you feel like if you fall down, like someone's like, you don't have to always dust yourself off. You have someone else who can kind of be like, hey, I got your back too.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things where there's community and suffering in a way, in kind of a sadistic way, I should say. But, that pain is what brings people together a lot of times. And, when you see, like just like how you said, which was well said, which was sometimes when you're in that environment and everybody's going through the exact same thing and you have this internal struggle going on, but yet you see other people going through the same thing and you look at each other and like, we're all thinking the same thing, but we're in this together, and it becomes almost a team effort because, no one has to say anything. It's like, we all just know it. What sport did you play?
So I started off in soccer.
Okay.
And then went into doing lacrosse. So I did lacrosse for all through high school, and then I did a couple of years in college as well.
Okay. Awesome.
So that was it was a great transition from soccer to lacrosse because I was kind of getting a little bored with soccer, and lacrosse was just such a new thing. So I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm basically doing the same thing of like, it's almost about the same amount of running, except now I'm like, okay, I have to actually think about my upper body. I have to actually have like some coordination. So it was a nice extra challenge for me to kind of, okay, I've been doing one thing for almost a decade. Let me kind of change it up a little bit.
Right.
So
do kind of branch out in something that's pretty much it's the same vertical. It's just, field sport, but you're right. It's, takes a little bit more hand-eye coordination rather than just foot coordination.
Oh gosh, yeah, definitely. Having to I had to like refigure out like cradling took me a hot minute to be kind of like, okay, wait, how do I transition from my right to my left? I'd never actually had to think about how do I function with my left hand before until then.
That's funny. I did lacrosse just for fun as like an intramural sport in college too. And at the time I also was on the baseball team, and I'm like, man, this is very hard. And I'm used to doing things with my upper body, and I'm used to running, I'm used to sprinting, but it was a really hard sport. It was really fun. I had a blast doing it. I mean, both soccer and lacrosse, both really fun sports, but I didn't realize how much lacrosse was both technical and you need a lot of conditioning as well.
Oh gosh, yeah. At least for girls, luckily we didn't have to have as much gear as the guys did when we're running around, but it was still one of those things, like relearning to run a little bit too, because now I have to run with a stick, and I'm either it's two hands in front of me, or like some people go more efficient, they'll one hand their stick, but then you have to be really smooth with your transition, especially when you're trying to catch.
Totally. Yeah. I feel you there. All right, perfect. Very interesting. Oh, excuse me. I just worked out. That workout was hard, and I was breathing hard, and here I am now talking.
Yeah, that one looked hard.
A great workout. So let's chat about your transition into CrossFit now specifically. So what drew you to CrossFit after being involved in team sports, and how did that transition impact your approach to staying active?
It's actually a really funny story. So because I had grown up doing team sports, after I stopped doing it in college, I hit a lull where all I was focused on was school, and I had picked up a job, and fitness of any sort, being active like that, was just, I wasn't even doing it anymore. And I got to a point where I was just like, I felt so lethargic. And then I looked at myself and I was like, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with where I'm at. And weirdly enough, when a Facebook ad had popped up and it was like, oh, a woman's only like 6-week course thing, like, here, get back to your body, or kind of one of those kind of programs. While I was still up in Oregon, I was like, I'll try it. And it actually ended up being hosted in a CrossFit gym. So I had never heard of what CrossFit was before that point.
Right.
And it was interesting because the program I was in was definitely kind of like, they introduced CrossFit movements and CrossFit kind of mentality, but it was still kind of centric around this selling point program of like, oh, you're a woman here, like, just get back to your body kind of a thing. And it was a nice introduction. I actually ended up signing a contract with that CrossFit gym, and I ended up sticking with it for a few months. But unfortunately, the community, I didn't feel as welcomed.
Really?
There. Like, it was not in a bad way. It was kind of one of those things where they were all nice, but it just didn't feel like a family, at least not for me.
Okay.
And so ended up dropping off with that. And then I had moved back home to California, and I was looking around for a gym. I actually tried out a gym 10 to 15 minutes away from my parents' house in PV. And that one was okay, but still same kind of thing. Like, didn't really feel super welcomed, but they weren't like mean either, if that makes sense. It was just kind of like, it didn't feel like a great fit.
This is interesting. Can we kind of dig into this a little bit more? Because I just want to, this is really interesting to me because this isn't the first time I've heard this from other members at our gym as well. So when you say that, they were nice, but you didn't 100% feel welcome, like, can you go into more detail? Yeah,
no, absolutely. I could put the gym I was in Eugene, Oregon, kind of in the same category of the gym that I tried in California before joining Red Wolf. I was new. I didn't know what I was doing. Right. I didn't know where half the equipment was at these gyms, and I felt fumbling. I was fumbling around, and I'm not saying that a coach who's running a class has to always check in, but when you're really new to something, and especially because at those times too, I felt so like unfit. I felt unhealthy, and I just wanted to kind of feel a little coddled. If that makes sense. And so I kind of felt like I was left in the wind by the coach that was running the class.
Okay. So you felt kind of like kind of just felt left behind, like you were just a number, just another person in the class. Like, specifically, did they not cue you? Did they not coach you? Did they not?
Not really. It was kind of like one of those things where they tossed you, at least for both of them. They tossed you in the class. They kind of went over the warm-ups a little bit. They sort of went over what the movements were, but they were also working with, 10 plus people in a class. Okay. And I definitely understand that can be very hard to kind of make someone feel like, they're getting that one-on-one attention. But I feel like when you're new and when you have all these nervouses and hesitancies and feeling of like inadequacy, and CrossFit can be intimidating, 100%. You seeing these people doing all these, throwing up heavy weights, they from at least from a newbie's point of view, they look like they're doing everything so proficiently. And so it was one of those things where it was kind of like, you kind of felt a little lost in the wind. At least I did. Yeah. I felt a little kind of like left to like, okay, well, this is the movement. You've shown it like once or twice. And then kind of like, all right, go do it.
Yeah. Like we said that at the same time.
Yeah. And like no check-in like during the workout either. No kind of like, oh, here, let me,
Really?
that's, hey, try to have like a slightly wider stance, or you're going to want to like posture up in a certain way, or here, let me show you as the coach, this is the movement we're looking for. Why don't you try it?
And even if you're doing it right, having the feedback that I'm doing it right also is helpful. Because,
100%.
Because I mean, it's just like reinforcing, okay, keep doing what I'm doing. Interesting. Yeah. And so you had those kind of, I wouldn't say negative experiences, but not like the experience you were looking for at those two gyms. Can you tell us a little bit about what makes, in your opinion, what makes Red Wolf different than those two experiences?
I'd say like right off the bat, what was really great with you guys when I had first came in, I actually met with you for my first test out workout. And you'd like introed, you're like, hey, how's it going? Like, I'm Matt. This is where you pointed out where like the equipment was. You're like, hey, everyone's going to kind of trickle in within the next couple of minutes. And so it was kind of very a nice intro to who you were. I didn't know at the time that you were the owner, but it was kind of like one of those things like, okay, cool. Like, this is like a nice, like one-on-one feeling. And then it was a nice, like, oh, hey, we have someone new. They're testing it out when you did start class. And then I liked how the way that the warm-up was set up, where you kind of really like went through everything, and then you were watching and you checked in on me a few times, which was like really helpful. And then even when I was waiting for the workout to start, and we'd already like had our quick intro, a couple of members had like just walked up and were just like, oh, hi, you look new, like, how are you doing? Just started talking to me and made me feel like really, really comfortable, like nervous, but comfortable.
Yeah.
And ended up doing that workout, and I think it was Wakanda. And I had to laugh.
Oh my God. I remember that workout. We don't program like that anymore. I'm sorry.
You know what is the funniest thing is
Wakanda forever.
No, 100%. But I think that's what kind of sold it a little bit for me.
Really? How so? Because I almost killed you?
You know what? Not really. It was more of because I had worked at a movie theater, so I thought it was super hilarious. I was just like, oh, Wakanda. Yeah, I worked that movie release.
Oh, that's funny.
But then you were like making jokes about the fact that was what the name of the workout was. So it felt very personable, I guess. It didn't feel stiff. It didn't feel like everyone took everything super seriously. I felt like I can kind of relax a little bit. Like if I want to make fun of myself, I'm not feeling like I'm in such like a gym bro mindset of like, no, must do this, can't do that, kind of a thing, But then like after that workout, I was definitely crushed. But like the people who were there just made me feel so welcomed. You made me feel so welcome that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna sign up. And then I think a couple of days later, had my second workout, my first official workout as a member. And I just remember the workout ended with 30 burpees. Everyone else is done. I probably had like almost 10 more burpees left. And I'm going from the last squat position to try to stand up on one of these burpees. And I just fall over. And it actually makes me laugh because one of the coaches, Dean, at one point in a class, he's like, you can never fail a burpee. And I'm like, you can fail a burpee. I've failed a burpee. I've literally fallen over trying to stand up from a burpee. But what stuck with me, considering that was also my first workout as an official member, and like everyone else is finished, but the moment I fall over, everyone's just like, come on, you got this. Like, you can finish this. I don't even know I can't remember if I went over the time cap at the time, but that feeling of community in that moment was like, for me, solidified, like I made the right choice by being a member here. And then from there, it was just kind of like, no, I want to stick it out. I want to stick it out for the long run.
Right.
Like, these are people that can uplift me and in what feels like an undaunting moment of like inadequacy. like having that extra little voice in the side to be like, no, you still got this. Like you can still, you can still do this, I guess, is like the better way of putting it.
Yeah. Dude, 100%. That was really well said. Thank you for the compliment as well. And I'm sorry about Wakanda.
Hey, it's always a funny memory now.
Yeah, I don't even know if we have that workout logged anymore or saved somewhere. I'm sure I could dig it up somewhere. We can repeat it just for you. All right. No, thank you so much, Peggy. Let's talk about, so you recently became a mom.
Yes.
And so as a new mom, like, walk us through how you manage to balance your fitness goals with the demands of motherhood, because a lot of people struggle with this.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, up front, I struggled to the point where in maybe a harsh way of putting it for myself, I'm very critical of myself. I failed to balance fitness and motherhood. I just wasn't doing it. It didn't help that I had a C-section. I had a pretty difficult recovery. It took me almost 2 months to recover afterwards. But even the tail end of my pregnancy, I wasn't making it into the gym. Now, I know I didn't have to, but I did also feel during my pregnancy that I wasn't happy in my mood. I wasn't moving around as much. I wasn't. There was so much that when I look back, I wish I was doing other things, but I just wasn't. And I had used pregnancy as an excuse not to go to the gym. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Oh, I don't want to drive pregnant to the gym. And it didn't help the distance, but at the same time, I used that as a crutch and as an excuse not to reach or even maintain my fitness. And it's actually just most recently that I've been able to kind of be like, you know what? No, I need to put myself first. I really wasn't. I used every excuse in my head that I can give myself.
Yeah.
I'm now a stay-at-home mom. My son is my job, and I'm also a mother. And so mentally balancing that difference in my mind. Oh, no, he is now the absolute priority. So he's my priority as a mother. He's my priority as my job. So taking care of myself shouldn't be important. And it took a lot of reflecting and still diving myself into a hole to hit bottom, to basically be like, no, I'm not happy with where I'm at. I'm still holding on to 20 pounds of pregnancy weight that I'm not happy that I'm still holding on to. And I had to really think okay, Peggy, if you're not happy with those 20 pounds, what are you going to do to get rid of it? What are you going to do to make yourself better? And then I had an epiphany. I had to be like, you know what? To do that, I have to put myself first.
Yeah.
I have to make the time. I have to commit to a minimum number of days in a week. And if I can get further than that, perfect. But I needed to mentally get to a point where it's like, no, I need to prioritize at least 3 days a week. I need to do my absolute best to make that a priority so that I can work on my fitness, so that because if my child is my priority, well, to make him my priority, I have to make myself a priority.
Yeah.
I can't take care of him to my best of my ability if I'm not 100%. And so recently, very recently, it's been, okay, get my butt in 3 days a week. Commit to that time. If that means my husband watches him, if that means I drag my husband with me to a class and all three of us are down here, do I bring my son with me? And just let's see how it goes. And I've been very blessed and lucky that he's totally fine with drives. He loves drives. That's when he gets his naps. He's knocked out on the way to noon class. And if I'm lucky enough and he's tired him enough at the gym, he's napping on the way back.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's been a nice balance since figuring out no, Peggy, you have to put yourself first in this regard so that I can then put my son next.
Yeah.
Who is my next biggest priority.
Yeah.
So that's been a newer development of like, okay, I'm gonna parcel out this time. I'm gonna, if that means, you know, having to move things around, then I do. And I've been very lucky that my husband's been supportive of that. He likes to go and do his gym stuff, but he's more than happy to sometimes drop in for CrossFit workouts. And so that's been a blessing to be able to, for both of us to kind of balance that out.
No, that's awesome. Thank you so much for your honesty. Really appreciate that. What would you tell someone who is kind of in that boat right now? Let's say that they, you know, even if they're not pregnant or they're just like they're just making every excuse. If you go back in time and tell yourself just one thing, what would that be?
One thing. If there would be one thing. Yeah, I would probably try to tell myself that I do need to prioritize myself. Like, just because things are changing, you know, it could be anything. Work that then gives me money to then put a roof over my head. Well, if I'm not 100% healthy for work, then I can't get that money that then puts a roof over my head.
Yeah.
Like, there are moments in time when it comes to your health and your fitness that you do have to prioritize yourself, whatever that looks like. You know, go take a walk around the block, go into a gym, you know, find a group of people that you feel comfortable with and that can push you as well. I think that's been a big thing for me where I've been very lucky with Red Wolf. There's so many strong women to look up to that go to this gym that it's like, wow, they're able to do that. Like, I can do that, if not at least a fraction of what they're doing. But I have to put in the work to do that. And so, yeah, I would say probably like prioritize yourself and it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to feel nervous. You know, everyone's going to mess up in something, right? You're always going to be a novice in something. And it's okay to be a novice, you know, because you're only going to be a novice for a short period of time. You know, you're only going to make those mistakes so many times until you finally learn. But you have to put in that work and you have to put in the reps to learn. And if you're not doing it at all, then, you know, you are going to stay stuck with where you're at.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow. No, that was very well said. Thank you so much, Peggy. So you did mention earlier, a few minutes ago, that you commute a long way. So, I mean, that I know where you commute from, Riverside all the way to Huntington Beach. So
Yes.
That is a significant distance to stay with your gym or your Red Wolf community. So what makes the sacrifice worth it for you?
Honestly, it's the people. It's been you. It's been Caitlin. Like, having you guys around. I used to do 4:30 a lot. Now I've been moving to noon, and it's just wonderful people in all those classes. You know, when we have gym community stuff on the weekends and coming in and you're seeing everyone, it's like, oh man, like I don't like almost ever see you, but oh, you do 5 a.m. But anyone that you come across, it's a lot of the same mentality, and it's really the people. And it's really funny. I went from making the drive from PV to Huntington, and then now from Riverside to Huntington, and I realized, I looked it up because I was curious. So I went from a 35 mile to a like almost 45-mile drive.
Wow.
And I remember when I had first started, and some people were like, "You drive from where?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, I make the drive, but I make the drive because for me, it's worth it. For me, seeing the people who I see, the motivation I get when I get into the gym, just the support I feel has been huge. Like can't even compare. At least right now in this part of my life, it's been amazing. You know, I had some of the women come up for my son's baby shower. They were great. You know, just having a group of women to like reach out to of like, hey, I feel a little lost in what I'm doing. There's just so many amazing women at the gym. And again, there was a lot of that kind of motivated me as well. And when it comes to the commute, it's, I don't know, my brain goes, hey, I spend an hour, sometimes 2 hours in the car, you know. I kind of treat that as like, you know, that's my time to kind of decompress too a little bit, you know, about my life, about, you know, what I did for the day. It's like my own personal like me time in the car, or jam sessions, you know, whatever it is, depending on the traffic.
Yeah. But
no, at the end of the day, it's the people. It's the people that keep me where I'm at.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Peggy. Kind of piggybacking off what we just talked about there is, you know, how has your gym family supported you through some of these major life changes?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say like when I had first joined Red Wolf, I just moved back to California. I had barely just finished getting a college degree, and I didn't have a direction on work, life, what was I going to do next. And it was actually kind of really great timing coming in, because there were just so many amazing people to talk to. And there's been so many people, I've had several different conversations of like, I feel lost. I feel like I don't know what I'm going to do. And I've had so many people, you know, talk to me and be like, oh, well, you know, you're so young. Like, have you tried this? Like, do you have a passion in something? And so there was a few people that really kind of helped me in a time when I felt so lost of like, what am I going to do for a career? What am I going to do for other things? And I've made great friends that actually, funny enough, one of them got me to do a dating app, which then ended up leading to me meeting my husband. So
I'll look at you.
I get to credit Janelle for why I have my husband. But just having those moments of like, people who are like confidants of like, there have been moments that have really shaped who I am today. Like, the gym has been so important that even my husband knew it was important. He tried to surprise me with proposing at a beach wad, you know, almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, that seemed just like yesterday.
Yeah, he told me, he's like, oh, we're going to be married for like 2 years by like November. I'm like, no, it's only been a year. He's like, no, hun, it's going to be 2. And I'm like, but even through that process, through marriage, through being a first-time mom, being able to talk to people, and being able to, in particular, like, I've leaned on Caitlin a little bit, like, hey, I'm a little confused on, you know, some of like my nutrition choices or some movement choices. And so I guess with that being said, like, just these last 5 years has been a lot of like growing years for me, but Red Wolf I can almost pinpoint Red Wolf connected to almost every new thing that I've done within the last 5 years in some way or form.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's that important to you.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. That's really cool. Thank you. I'll take it as a compliment. Wow. That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. And I do want to talk about this a little bit because this relates to me as well. But let's talk about your adoption experience.
Yeah.
That you mentioned. So, you know, how has your experience of being adopted kind of shaped your views on community and belonging?
Well, so I would say like I've been lucky in the sense of I was adopted from China at 6 months. My parents told me very early on that I was adopted. We would actually even have group get-togethers. My parents went with a group, and so there were another 2 to 3 girls that were in our group, and we'd meet and hang out for each other's birthdays when we were a whole lot younger. And so it was a part of my identity pretty early on. I didn't have too many issues in that regard, but it did build a sense of, I don't know if every adoptive child feels this way, but sometimes I know I feel like by being adopted, I have to put in more. I need to give more of myself to feel like I'm being accepted or I'm being loved.
I feel that way.
I have like a fear of if I don't do more than what's being asked of me, someone can very easily just walk away.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to tear up a little bit here, but it's
okay.
one of those things.
I feel the exact same way. Like, I'm adopted too, and I always have this overwhelming sense of fear of rejection, which is really tough for me too. Like, I have a really, and I'll be full transparent with everyone who's listening, that I have a really hard time sometimes when like a key member of our gym like leaves, even though if it's like just for a move. I don't blame myself for anything, but it's just one of those things where it's just like, you feel it.
Oh, no,
yeah,
100%. And it's one of those things where, like, I never felt abandoned by my parents that picked me. I've been so blessed with the parents that I have.
Yeah.
But there is, like, internal abandonment feelings from, like, what made me not good enough for my biological parents to keep me. And that
I have those exact same thoughts.
And that trend, I realize, also stays connected to friends I make, communities that I'm involved in.
Yeah.
It's going to sound maybe a little funny, but maybe not so much. But when COVID hit, and I'm not going to say that I knew whatever stresses you guys were going through at the time when you were debating, do I close Red Wolf? Do I keep it open? But for me, I was like, I was scared. I was scared beyond beyond anything. I was just like, oh man, I just found this amazing group of people. Am I going to lose that? And then like, what did I do that wasn't enough? And so when it comes to finding a community and a group of people, I know I'm loyal to a fault. I have my friend, Tiffany, and she's always like, dude, like, you don't have to do all of these things. I'm like, but I feel like I have to. I feel like I need to put more into this. I feel like I'm not doing enough. I feel like there's so many different things I need to do to hopefully so you don't leave me. And I've had to work with it with my husband, and he's been great with like, you're doing enough. Like, I promise you I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But I think because of those abandonment issues and internal things that I battle with, community is so important.
Oh, yeah.
Like, feeling like you're accepted. And I will say, like, when I was gone for that period of time, when I failed to keep up my fitness, I'm happy with myself that I still kept my membership.
Yeah.
That I didn't completely give up on myself. I just failed at part. I failed at getting in, but I kept myself tethered by still paying. And then I think that added to, I've really hit the bottom of the barrel. Peggy, you've spent who knows how much of hundreds of dollars and you haven't even gone in. But why do you keep paying? Like, well, I keep paying because I love my community. I keep paying because there are so many people there that I want to eventually kind of not be exactly like them, but I want to be as successful as them in my health, in my fitness, in my commitment to myself. And so really at the end of the day, that's been huge. It's been important because of how I am.
Yeah.
With being adopted and stuff like that. Like, I think that really shapes where I put my loyalties to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say, long-winded way of saying it, but yeah.
Yeah. And I feel the same way. And I don't know if you feel this, but me being adopted too, is I have this overwhelming, just like you, this overwhelming sense of, am I doing enough for everyone? And also I do my best not to get too close to people. I have this overwhelming thing of like, if I don't get too close to them, then I don't have to worry about the rejection because I was never close to them to begin with. So I am a pretty distant person, and people do notice that, and people have told me that before, even my own family. And it's really just, it's something I'm working on too, but it's clear, I know what it is because I've been working on it with a professional too. And it's just a defense mechanism that I'm working on as well, that I don't know if you felt that, but
oh yeah, no, 100%. I'm definitely of that type where I can be a little bit like, who I keep super close is a very select few.
Yeah.
And those who I do keep close though, like ride or die, like you need me, like I'm there 100%. I will find somehow, some way to get there. But to get to that point with someone, that is the hard part.
Yeah.
To really fully put myself in a mental place of like, okay, I'm gonna fall off the cliff, and I hope you're gonna catch me. Is very hard to get to for me as well, because again, it's that subtle in the back of my mind, like am I gonna do enough to keep them around? And so it's been a big fear of mine. It was actually something that had me very concerned when I did get pregnant, if I'm being honest. Because I was like, I can have this child, and then it's like, this is gonna be the first thing that's like really mine.
Yeah.
And how am I gonna handle that? Part of me when I was younger was like, I don't know if I'm gonna have my own kids, and I made up excuses like, I don't know what's in my DNA, like I don't know what I'm gonna pass on. And I think really at the end of the day, I was afraid of abandonment from like my own blood.
Yeah.
And because I was like, when I was younger, I was like, I'll probably just adopt, and not that I don't think that it's not a great option, but I think I was really using it more of as an excuse of like, well, if I adopt and they don't really love me, or if they abandon me, or if they leave me, I can always give my excuse of, well, I adopted them. That's not my blood leaving me. And so that was for a hot second, that was a fear when I got pregnant, other than what am I genetically passing on? But it was a little bit of a quick second fear. And it's just, I don't know. I think it all stems for me though, full circle with being adopted. I think that's why fitness has been so important for me too, though.
Right.
I find that being able to work out and pushing myself for challenges, trying to get better, build skills, build strength, really be conscious of my health as well, it's been very connected to community. Because when I feel comfortable, I feel like I can push myself safely, and I feel that comfort, and it is an escape from all the thoughts that run through my mind.
Yeah, that is the one thing that I do love about fitness in general, is especially fitness that we do, functional fitness and CrossFit, is that that there is no other option to think about anything else other than that singular focus of the next rep. And earlier today, I was like, I really didn't want to work out. I've been stressed out lately the past few days, and then I made myself work out this morning, and I knew I had to do it because we have the podcast, and I was like, I feel 10 times better. And I was able to shut my brain off for an hour and just get my workout in. I got the endorphin rush, and now I'm ready to get back to work. So it's one of those things where it really sucks when you like kind of like revving yourself up or winding up to do it, but then once it's over, you're like, wow, like I'm a completely different person. And Caitlin said the same thing this morning. She did the workout this morning in between classes. She said the same thing.
Oh, then, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way.
Oh, yeah. No, working out is such an emotional release too. At least for me, it's been an emotional release. Sometimes I'll find myself when I've been having a really crappy day, or unknowingly holding on to something. I've frankly, probably like 2 to 3 times, I've been crying in a workout.
Yeah.
I'm working out, but all of a sudden, like a thought or an emotion comes through, and I just feel myself, like the tears are running down my eyes, and I'm trying to do the dumbbell snatch, and I'm just like, part of my brain is like, go through that emotion that I'm going through, but hey, you also have something else to focus on, which is get the work done. And I think, and in its own odd way, it has helped me process some emotions too. Like if I'm angry over something, I'm like, okay, run it out. Like, okay, yeah, be mad at the heavy dumbbell that I'm trying to, or the heavy barbell that I'm trying to lift. Like,
Yeah.
take that anger a little bit and just be like, move it into a different place. And so, yeah, it's definitely one of those things where it's like, when it's all said and done, I'm like, okay, that was good.
Nice.
That was really good.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think we all feel that, especially when it's over, which is when you feel the best. All right, let's wrap things up here. Final question. So let's talk about your future. So looking forward, what's some of your personal and fitness goals, and how do you plan to achieve those?
Well, some short-term ones for sure is I really want to work on my push-ups and pull-ups again. That was actually one of the first two movements that I really wanted to dial in when I first joined Red Wolf. When we were doing some of the workouts, I was like, oh man, I can't even do a push-up. Like doing them off my knees, I was like, man, I think I can be better than this. And I had taken almost like a year and a half, but I had actually gotten to a place where I was pretty good. I was like, man, I felt like I was accomplishing things. And then, I let the hiccups roll in. And so now I'm kind of at start zero again. But that was like, for me, short term, that's, I want to work on my pull-ups and push-ups again. That's going to be kind of my big focus, and getting my butt in 3 days a week is also a big one for me. I want to maintain that for as long as possible, with hopefully minimal hiccups moving forward, at least until the end of the year. Then I kind of want to reassess, like, okay, cool, put in all that work, where am I at now?
Yeah.
And so those right now, those are kind of the big ones, for at least fitness wise. Those are definitely my big ones for sure.
I love that. I love how you set your goal to be an action and not an outcome. And I think a lot of people, they set a goal for a specific outcome, and then when they work backwards from that, then the thought of having to climb that mountain just seems to get higher and higher, when really, if you just make the action the goal, by default, the outcome will happen regardless, because you don't have to worry about a timeline. I think a lot of times people, especially in fitness, there's an end date attached to it, when really, I mean, this, that we're going to be doing this for the rest of our lives.
Oh yeah. And especially when you hit the hiccups, right? And like for me, like where I had that big gap, this is a perfect start to restart, but I do remember where I was at. So like the fact that I'm back to knee push-ups, I'm like, okay, but I know I can do real push-ups. I want to get back to that. I want to get faster. I want to do more volume.
Because you've been there before, and now you know what it takes. So it actually makes it easier, because, you knew how long it took. You've been there before. And then kind of like the little mini benchmarks that you'll have on the way up. So that way you'll know, oh, I'm making progress. It's like, it's happening.
Yeah. And
one little step at a time.
No, and the biggest difference this time was Caitlin was like, write it down.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't doing that really the first time around. So it's now I can put a new skill, and I can make it even more achievable to be like, oh, hey, where was I at? Oh, yes. I did that in that time frame. Oh, cool. I did that faster.
Yeah.
I did that more.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that for sure.
All those little wins, and the more ways you measure and the more ways you track, the more ways you can win. And even if the win is tiny, but you get them more frequently, the more you'll be rewarded for that action or behavior. And then you can, by default, will start climbing that ladder.
No, 100%. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Peggy, for coming on. Any final words of wisdom from you before we wrap things up?
Now, honestly, the only thing I could say is, if anyone who is, on that fence, just embrace the scared. You are going to be scared. You are going to be novice at something. But at the end of the day, if you prioritize yourself and your health, you're going to have that longer longevity. You're going to be able to reach those other maybe medium to bigger goals. Because if you're not at your 100% self, then you are going to fall short, unfortunately, on those medium and big goals. Yeah. So I would say embrace the scared a little bit. It's okay to be scared.
Well said. Love it. Well, thank you so much for listening. If this was helpful, please leave us a 5-star review so we know to make more content just like this. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Red Wolf CrossFit and DM your content suggestions there. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, good luck have fun. Nailed it.